Hey everyone, Andy Raffel from eTeknix.com. Now, when it comes to keyboards, mice, headset, mouse pads, there's a whole plethora of stuff out there. So what do you go with? Well, we've actually got this today, which is the Marvo CM375. I'm going to be honest with you, I thought it was pretty crap until I saw the price. Let's do this. Unleash the Kraken Z63 AIO cooler from NZXT. Their latest all-in-one liquid cooler is unlike anything else on the market, featuring a built-in LCD display so you can completely customize the look of your CPU cooler with GIFs and cam data. Featuring powerful cooling from a 280mm radiator, a 7th gen eTeknix pump, impressive socket support, and an amazing 6-year warranty. To find out more, click the link in the description below. So Marvo is actually a brand I've never heard of, and their kind of slogan is touch wisdom, which I have no idea what that even means. But what we've got is the CM375. It's a 4-in-1 gaming starter kit. And just a little side note, worth staying until the end of the video because I've got a few more of them. And guess what? I'm going to be giving them away. So definitely stay tuned for that. Now, when I was actually given this by the distributor in the UK, they basically said it's priced at around, wait for it, £27 in the UK, which I thought, okay, that's absolutely astronomical value for money, as long as, these do what they're meant to do. If the headset, produces sound, if the keyboard actually allows you to press buttons on it, if the mouse moves and actually moves on the screen. I thought £27, this is ridiculous. Well, I'm going to be honest with you, I actually found it a little bit cheaper at £19 in the UK. Sorry for anyone who's not in the UK because I did have a little sort of scout around and I couldn't actually find anything available in the US. But let me talk through exactly what you actually get because everything you need all comes in this one little box. So let's start with the keyboard. I mean, typically speaking, it's a full-size keyboard with a number pad. Design-wise, it does feature a little bit of a weird hex design compared to your standard rectangular units. So size-wise, I did mention this is a full-size keyboard. It actually comes in at 460 by 210 by 28mm, and it does feel quite chunky overall, but it is very, very light. Now I'm going to be honest, I'm pretty sure I've seen this same design before from other brands such as Speedlink, maybe even Trust. Basically, no-name brands that have been out there and kind of just use the same design, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Now, in my opinion, it's pretty nice looking overall. And for those who maybe have smaller hands, you do have this area at the bottom, which kind of acts a little bit more like a palm rest. Not so much a wrist rest, but it does kind of come out of the keyboard a little bit and just gives you something to position your hands on. So what about the actual keys themselves? Well, it's not a mechanical keyboard. You wouldn't even dream of getting that at this price point. Though, spoiler note, I have actually got a keyboard from Marvo, which is extremely affordable and is mechanical. So stay tuned for that one, which will be coming out very, very soon. It's a membrane keyboard, so that basically means that it feels like every other membrane keyboard out there. There's nothing really to differentiate them apart from maybe the design and maybe the actual feel of the keycaps themselves. Typing response is very, very good. There was no kind of lag or anything like that. The only problem is it feels like some of the buttons are a little bit kind of sticky, mushy, kind of like you're trying to push through quicksand. But again, something that I guess anyone who's familiar with a membrane keyboard won't actually really mind too much. It's only really, I guess, if you've gone to a mechanical keyboard and then tried to use a membrane after, you can really notice these little details. Now, I did mention earlier that there's a few buttons on here which are, I guess, red in color. Now, these actually include your multimedia buttons. So we've got everything from opening up Windows Explorer, opening up your browser, your email, and even your search. On the opposite side, we have our multimedia buttons for playing, pausing music or video, as well as adjusting the volume. The bit that's a little bit weird for me is this little bit in the middle because, I don't know, it's the main kind of key point of their branding. And I just expected it to maybe light up a little bit, but it actually does nothing. Turning the keyboard around and having a little look at the underside, there are a few small rubber grips on there. And for those who maybe want that little bit of extra height, there are 2 kickstands as well. Nothing really too out of the ordinary. The cable itself is, well, a pretty standard affair. It's a decent length. It's not braided or anything like that, but it should be pretty durable overall. I mean, how often do you really move your keyboard? So now down to the all-important thing, the RGB side of it. So it's actually rainbow backlit, which adds a little flair to the overall design. It includes a bunch of colours spread across the keyboard underneath the keys. The RGB doesn't necessarily shine through the keys, but more so between the keys within the gaps. The weird thing about the RGB on the keyboard is that you have to press the scroll lock button to turn it on. Even on the box it states that it has a steady and a breath mode. I couldn't actually figure out how to enable the breath mode, and the scroll lock has to be on for the RGB to be in effect, which may cause some issues depending on your usage. Overall though, it looks nice, it does the trick, and I guess would be a nice addition to anyone's gaming setup, especially if you're on a budget. Now, let's talk about the headset. So moving on to the headset, this is actually the H8311 gaming headset. I don't actually know where they kind of get the, naming and model numbers from, but it feels a lot kind of heavier than what I was expecting. Now that's good and bad in its own little way. Good because obviously it does kind of dictate that there's a little bit of extra quality involved in it, but quite bad because in theory it might actually start aching after prolonged sort of usage. It's primarily cased in plastic with some subtle branding telling us that it's a stereo gaming headset. And colour-wise, it's also, again, got red accents on it. The cable is 2.1 meters long, so more than enough for most gamers, and is also braided red and black, which is a nice little touch and should add some durability to it. At the end is a set of 3.5mm jacks for the headset and the built-in microphone. The headband itself kind of looks and feels like it's made out of pleather or some kind of mimic leather material, and the stitching's actually really, really good on it. It has a nice level of comfort to it, but nothing really too out of the ordinary, especially looking at this price point. It's also worth noting that there's quite a decent amount of flex to it. That's actually a good thing because it does mean that, say for instance it's on the floor and you accidentally stand on it, well it shouldn't in theory break. As we move further down there is a left and a right denotation on there, just in case you want to change it for the size of your noggin. Now I'm going to be honest, it's not exactly the greatest, but it's made out of plastic. Normally on a more expensive headset, we'd actually expect maybe a little bit of metal here, just to kind of give it that extra rigidity and a little bit more premium quality. The ear cups have a similar pleather cover with light yet very springy foam underneath. They aren't removable, so be careful if you do need to clean them. There's also a red inner ear cover made from fabric mesh which covers over the 40mm drivers, which apparently, according to Marvo, have a powerful bass output. So I'll be honest, it does actually have bass. I wouldn't say it's powerful bass, but what do you expect looking at, this is probably, based on the whole kit, worth about £5 or £6. But it does have bass. It has punchy mids, and the treble, while not as crisp as what I would have liked, it's still pretty damn decent and perfect for those who I guess really are just looking at sort of gaming. Put it this way, I've heard a lot worse for a lot more money. Luckily, there's only a little bit of noise bleed from the rear of the headphones, so you won't massively annoy people when it's cranked up. Talking of cranking it up, it doesn't go obscenely loud, but loud enough. This is probably due to if it was any louder, it would maybe distort at the higher levels. So what about the microphone? Well, the microphone is actually omnidirectional, which makes no sense whatsoever, but I guess it's cheaper than a cardioid pickup pattern mic. It's not detachable, but can be positioned out of the way when it's not needed. Before we talk more about the microphone, take a listen to this mic test. This is a microphone test for the headset that comes in the Marvo CM375 4-in-1 gaming kit. This is a microphone test for the headset for the CM375 4-in-1 gaming kit, where I'm standing about 10 feet away. So the mic isn't exactly great quality, the headset is a little bit clunky in areas, but to be honest, I'd probably be happy to pay around £20 to £25 for this. To put that into perspective, Sony have got the MDR ZX310s, which currently retail for about £16.39 on Amazon. And well, these sound better and actually feel a lot better, and they have a microphone. They're kind of more geared at gaming as opposed to just listening to music. And being just that little bit bigger, I don't know, they feel just so much better than some of the other offerings out there for around the same price or even more expensive. So moving on to the mouse, this is the M221. So it's actually light. It's really light. It kind of has some weird branding on it. It says born for gaming, which just sounds like, well, it sounds pretty whack in my opinion. Now, the weird thing is about this, it has got this kind of rubberized texture on there, but it's actually pretty transparent in certain areas, and that allows the RGB to actually shine through. But that doesn't go without its problems. So in all the literature that comes with this and when you want to look at buying it, it says it has 4 buttons. Technically, that's a little bit wrong because it has the left click, the right click, you can click the mouse scroll wheel in, but the 4th button is technically the DPI button, which changes it from 800 up to 1600 up to 2400 and then on to 3200. So pretty much the baselines that you'd expect for a variety of different kind of gameplay modes. So Marvo do claim that it's rated for up to 1 million clicks, which is pretty damn decent for the money. Looking at the price of the whole kit, you'd probably hazard a guess that this would come in at around £3 or £4, which is pretty damn cheap if it was sold separately. Now, in terms of the scroll wheel, it doesn't actually have a free scroll mode, but that's pretty nice because what it allows you to do is get that extra level of precision depending on the game you're playing that could come in really handy. So there's actually 7 recurring LED colours, which, well, can't be changed. The mouse has some transparent areas where the LEDs shine through, but the colours don't exactly shine through on the whole mouse. So the red DPI LED actually shines back through the mouse, so the main button always has a red tinge shining through it. The transparent area also wraps around the whole mouse, but sadly the front of the mouse just doesn't light up, which does make it feel a bit cheap. But it is cheap, that's kind of the whole point. Now what's a mouse without a mouse pad? And I've got to be honest, not my cup of tea, but I can kind of see where they're going with it. Talking about the measurements, it's a bit of a weird one to do purely because of the shape of the actual mouse pad itself. It comes in at 287mm by 244 by 3mm, which is, in all honesty, a bit on the small side, but it's nice to have a thick pad for extra comfort. Even with the side, due to the edges being, well, edgy, kind of hex-shaped, which looks a bit weird, it means the whole surface isn't exactly usable, but could work for MOBA and RTS type gamers. Now when you turn it over, you will notice that it has got a rubberized back on it, which means that no matter how hard you try it, it's not going anywhere. The edges are, I guess, open weaved, so that means that they could in theory fray, but based on the literature that I've seen, they are claiming that it isn't going to do that and should last the test of time. But to be honest, I've seen mouse pads like this before and well, it's just not going to happen. So there you go, that's basically everything in a nutshell. So what's the key takeaway from this? Well, if you're like me and you end up building systems for friends, family, and just generally, you know, building something that is on the cheap end of the scale, like we did the other day, and it's definitely worth going and checking out our console killer build. It's basically a system that tries to do everything on a budget and still be able to do gameplay at 1080p. This is going to be the perfect accompaniment to that, because if you're on a budget already, you don't want to go out and spend huge amounts on peripherals. That way you could go out, spend £19, which is just absolutely astronomical value for money, and get something that, yeah, is a little rough around the edges, and yeah, I'd probably criticize this if I didn't know the price. But then as soon as I hear the pricing on this whole kit, it just completely blows my mind. I mean, surely it's going to cost more than that to ship this from, I'm guessing, China to the regions that it's available in, which, as I say, for the most part, I think is pretty much the UK at the moment. But there's nothing to stop us saying that this is going to come to another region at a later date. It's definitely food for thought, because I'm wondering how they actually go about making money on this. It must surely be a kind of, you know, a volume thing. They must sell hundreds upon thousands of these. And I actually found it at quite a few different retailers. Of course, I will link to Amazon in the listing in the description below, because we do get a little bit of a kickback from there. So if you are looking at sort of buying something like this, you know, that would definitely help us out. Overall though, I'm really, really happy with it. Like I say, it's not perfect, but it's 19 quid. Split it up and try and work out the cost of the individual kind of products on their own: keyboard, mouse, headset. I mean, the mat, £1 maybe, the mouse, £3. So that's 4. Let's add on, let's say £5 for sort of the keyboard, maybe even £6, and then the rest on the headset. Pretty damn affordable value for money. And I'm probably going to end up buying some of these myself, purely for the reason of anyone who comes to me who just wants a cheap built PC, friends, family, that kind of thing, like I mentioned. I've got something available to them sort of straight off the bat, and they can see everything's in one pack. If you're wrapping it up as a gift, it's just easy to sort of take this and wrap it up, and there you go. Other than that, I did mention that I'm going to be giving 3 of these away. So if you want to find out more about kind of, you know, what the situation is with that, check out the description below. We will put in a link to the eTeknix.com website, which will have all of the information where you can win one of these. And even though this is only available in the UK, I am actually going to open up the giveaway to everyone worldwide. So no matter what country you're in, it's going to be available to you, because to be honest, it doesn't actually weigh that much. It's not going to cost me a huge amount to ship. So yeah, check out the description below. Let me know in the comment section what you think of this whole kind of setup. Do you think more brands should do this, where they have these combos where maybe they could even reduce the price of their own products just that little bit, because it all kind of reduces down because of the packaging and having it all as one? Yeah, really interested to know what you guys think. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, you know exactly what to do, and I'll see you in the next one. See you later, guys. Bye-bye. I'm gonna do that bit again. Shut up!